In this case, I've got my current FX Panthera 600 competition gun. And in this case, and that entire box, I've got what will be my new competition gun. Let's show you my current competition gun first. So this is an FX Panthera 600. I have used this gun to win matches. I have used it to win money. It is an excellent gun, and I've got it set up pretty nicely. So you might be asking, well, why do you want to get a new competition gun and build something else when this is already working so well? And the answer to that is that I want a 700 millimeter barrel. This is a 600. I bought the 600 because it's a little bit more wieldy for pulling in and out of barriers and things like that. But with the 600, you're a little bit limited on power. With the about 4 inches or 100 millimeters of extra barrel that you have on a 700, you can really push the heavier slugs at a higher speed. And these days, everybody's wanting to push those heavier slugs. So you will be a little bit outclassed if you can't push those heavy slugs. So for this gun here, I've got the Crawford & Lipped PR5 rail on it. I've got some Crawford & Lipped Fat Bastard weights on it. I've got an Accutech FD4 on it, and it does have a Donnie FL FX suppressor on it. I've got a Element Optics Titan in MOA on it, and that's more or less it. Internally, I have an 8mm hammer, which is like the 13 grain hammer, so that's used for smacking that valve open at the higher pressures that you're going to need with a shorter barreled gun. And also I have a Huma pin probe and a Huma transfer port to get a little bit extra power out of that. I recently put those in, and yes, I am able to sling 34 grain slugs at about 1,000 FPS with this, no problem. But it's the efficiency on it that is kind of a concern to me, especially because I shoot matches year round, and in the winter it's going to be less efficient. So I'm going to try a 700 and one with a bigger tank. So that's the 600. Now what you guys can do is you can buy a FX Dynamic VP. It's going to be a bare bones dynamic, but it's going to save you about $500 compared to buying a Panthera or a dynamic with the carbon bottle and full furniture and everything on it. So the Dynamic VP is going to basically look like this. It's going to come with no handguard, and a VP will come with a aluminum bottle. I've already changed this out to a carbon fiber bottle. This is a Tuxing 360cc bottle. So to give you a little bit of contrast with the factory is going to have a 400cc aluminum bottle, but it only goes to 230 bar. So this is 360cc, so I'm losing a little bit of volume, but it's 300 bar. So I'm gaining a lot of additional pressure that I can put in it. This may not be final state. I did have a 500cc bottle on it, but the length of pull was like 16.5 inches, which is way too much. This seems okay, and we do have the adjustable stock. This can be adjusted out a little bit, but I think the final state is going to be a 420cc bottle, which is about that much longer, and I think that'll be perfect. I will drop links for all of those in the comments for you guys, so when you're building your gun, you can have those all at your fingertip. But I think the 420cc tank is going to be what we use. But essentially this gun is all factory. It has nothing on it yet, and we're going to go ahead and build it out today. So let's get into the parts I'm going to use. And before I do, apologies to vendors. This has all taken a lot of time to get all of these parts. So if you are a vendor and you sent things in months ago, sorry it took so long. All right, so let's talk about optics first. For this, I'm going to use the Orc Air Black Label scope. This is the one that I helped them with. It's a really nice scope, okay? So it's first focal plane. It's an MRAD. It has nice turrets on it, and it's a very optimal scope for NRL22 and PRS. Now, this is the same scope as, I believe it's the Valiant Epic, which is like an $800 scope, but you can get these on Amazon for $350. And this is definitely the best bang you're going to get for that price. And I also have some Sunway Photo mounts, which are, I think I only paid like 30 bucks for them on Amazon. And they're really nice solid mounts. So I'm going to use those. I already got those on here. So that's what's going to be the optic for this thing. Let's reach into my bag of tricks here, or box of tricks rather. So this is a must, Accutech FD4. Thanks for the discount on that, Accutech. I'll always use Accutechs in competition. Now this is critical. So I'm going to use an impulse air suppressor on this thing. Around here, I cannot be just shooting loud guns, so we need some suppression, and these are really, really nice, and I'm going to show you why. So first of all, very nice packaging. You know, they come with a nice sleeve, and they're modular, so I can take these baffles off, and that is the reason why I want to do this, and I'll show you why. So this is how it comes factory. This end piece is the same diameter as like an FX Impact or Maverick shroud, but they actually offer this piece, which is 34 millimeters, and it is the same diameter as the Panthera shroud, which is a little bit bigger than the Impact shroud. So it just looks a little bit nicer, and it gives you a little bit more volume. So how I think I'm gonna run this is one baffle. That is it. The gun's a 700. It's already pretty long. And I've seen Matt Dubber on his channel just take the two pieces of the factory Impact moderator and remove the middle piece, and that's about this long, maybe a little shorter, and he's saying that works fine. So we're gonna see if just this little one baffle suppressor is gonna work, and you can see it's the same diameter, so that's very nice. We're gonna give that a try on this gun for this build. Thank you to Impulse Air for sending that out. Also, another tip about the suppressors, always upsize a bit. So I'm going to go for a 25 cal suppressor, even though the gun's a 22. I would even suggest going higher than that, but for this one I decided 25. All right, not really part of the build, but Andy, who you've seen on the channel, hooked up a chamber flag, so that's going to be critical for competing. And then what else do I have here? All right, so this is another Crawford and Lipped PR5 rail. I think currently this is, and I haven't tried every rail on the market, but in my opinion, this is probably the best. It mounts super solidly, so when you're smacking your gun down on barriers, you're not hitting into the barrel or anything like that, which you can do with the factory handguard on the Panthera and Dynamic if you're really manhandling your gun. I've also got the bridge here, and you're going to see where that comes into play here in a second, but that is the same that I have on this gun, and we're going to equip it similarly, but that's what I'm going to use as a handguard. Getting down to grips, you'll notice on my Panthera here, they used to come with this grip, and my buddy Dan Carpenter knows I like this grip. It's a little too thin for his giant bear paw hands, so he actually sent this out, so thanks, Dan. And then this is the current grip that comes on the Panthera. So I've got two to choose from. The one that comes on the Dynamic VP is a slanted grip. For NRL22 and stuff, we're going to want a more vertical grip. So I'm probably going to use this one, but we can try out both. So that's going to be my choice for a grip. One of those. What else do I have here? This is really nice. So Sekhmet. Sekhmet makes some of the nicest digital gauges on the market. They were nice enough to send this over for this build. This is their Pro gauge, okay? So it has multiple different modes. I'm not gonna claim to be an expert on it because I haven't gone through it yet, but I know it has like a bottle mode, a regulator mode, and I think one other mode, but it does some analytics and stuff like that. I'm gonna set this into regulator mode when I put it on there because I'm gonna use this for my reg gauge. And it's got a backlit display, really nice. Internal battery, it's got a USB charger that just clips on the front of it, and so that's what we're going to use for a gauge, and I will have to degas it to install it, but we'll do that in a bit. What else do I have here? Okay, so I probably should have talked about this when I did the handguard. I've got some weights here. Now this one I will not be able to install today since I did not get the correct screws for it, but this is a bench steady weight, and I've got one on this Panthera right in front of my bipod there, and I have it screwed directly into the pre-drilled holes that are on the PR5 rail, and that is a big feature of the PR5 rail. Having those pre-drilled screws in the proper spacing of M-LOK attachments makes it so that you can just screw things directly into the rail rather than actually using the M-LOK slots like on the side of the rail. So that's pretty cool. So speaking of that, I found this company called S2 Delta on Amazon. And again, I'll leave links in the description and comments for that. And by the way, if you're using my Amazon links, you're helping the channel. I'm not monetized, so appreciate you if you're doing that. even if you don't buy whatever's in the link and just click in and do your regular shopping through one of my links, I still get some credit. So thank you guys for doing that. Keeps the channel afloat. But I've got these weights from S2 Delta, and they did come with the correct screws that fit the threading of the pre-drilled holes on the PR5. And why I'm going to use these are going to go on the bridge. And the hole spacing here makes it perfectly aligned with the existing holes on there. So all I have to do is put the Allen keys in, turn them, and now I've got weights on my bridge. And the machining quality on these is super nice. So these are 60 bucks on Amazon. Links in the description, comments for you guys. That's what I'm going to use. And I'm actually probably going to buy another set for that gun at some point, because I am going to take one of the sets of those fat bastard weights off and put it up front. The idea here is that since this gun doesn't have the thick and heavy aluminum stock and bottle on the end and only has just a carbon bottle and plastic stock, it'll be a lot less rear heavy. So I can probably get away with less weight up front. We'll see in a little bit here. But so that's that with the weights. Definitely going to want to have weights on a PRS gun. Speaking of weights, this is kind of in the same realm. You guys have probably noticed in my videos and stuff, I've got a brass charging handle lever. These are real heavy. My friend Robert Moore makes these. He sent a couple of these over to use. So thank you for that, Robert. We're going to use those on this dynamic, and we'll swap out the factory one. So that's that. And then very important, magazines. So there's a guy on eBay. His name's Quan. His brand is QD Fox Mags. He's making mags for a lot of different guns, but namely FX is what I'm interested in. And we've got these small mini mags that hold 12 rounds, which is the absolute perfect thing for NRL22. No stage is going to be more than 12 rounds. Most are 10. So I've got 4 of those from him and his full size. The full size holds 17 rounds, which is one less than the factory mag. But that's going to be my choice for this build. And I think I have one more little bag of tricks item in here, and that's going to be a bubble level, kind of like this one on my, for that scope. So this is a Monstrum, same with this one. I really like these. So I haven't gotten into the digital levels and stuff with the LED lights. I'm going old school with a bubble level. I like it. It can't fail. It doesn't require batteries. And for me, I think it's just fine to use one of these. So we're going to use that. And I think that should be it. And this gun's going to look nice. Big thank you to Crawford and Lipt for providing the rail and also for anodizing it green. I think I'm the only guy that has green rails on my Panthera. So that those are going to kind of match a little bit with the magazines and stuff. But I won't bore you with the actual process of tinkering on this gun and getting it all set up. So what we'll do is I'll set that up and then show it to you. Oh, and I should mention one other thing. So we're going to focus on only the external modifications of this gun, okay? I have done nothing to the internals except for one thing. I cracked this gun open when I got it to inspect the hammer weight, to make sure it was at least a 6mm head on it, which is like the 12 gram weight. This one actually came with the 4, so I did swap it out to a 6mm head hammer weight, and that's I think the 12 gram weight.
Yeah, let's do a little bit of housekeeping here. So I actually, after I filmed this part of the video, I actually changed my hammer out. So the gun came with the 4mm here, which is like 11 point something grams. I put this 6mm head hammer weight in it, which is like 12 point something grams. And then this one here is the big boy. That's the 8mm head that weighs 13.2 grams or thereabouts. But what I actually ended up doing was putting a Huma 14.5 gram hammer in. It's the same dimensions as this with the 8mm head, but since it is brass, it's a little bit heavier. And I just went to go ahead and use that. I was having a little bit of trouble with this guy smacking open the valve at 155 or 160 bar. So to just get a little bit better smack on that valve, I went ahead and used the 14.5 gram Huma hammer. I'll leave a link in the comments and description for that. You can grab it at either Huma's website or at High Pressure Pneumatics. And that is not the heaviest hammer I have, that Huma that I put in there. I do have a tungsten hammer, but I would suggest not ever using a tungsten hammer. It's like 26 grams, and it's a good way to beat up your gun and possibly bend your valve. So the 14.5 gram hammer is working fine, and that's what we're going to use for this build.
So that's what it is. And next I'll show you this gun once I've got it all assembled, and we'll compare it to my 600. All right, after making a complete mess, I've got the gun assembled and it's looking pretty good. It is the one up front. The one behind it is my current 600. And I made it so that those weights match perfectly because they're in the same position, so we can get a length comparison. And look at that. It's really not much longer than my 600 with just the one baffle impulse air suppressor on there. And it balances perfectly too, but ended up using the same monstrum level that I have on both of those. Very nice. One thing I'll probably change, and I want you guys to note, is those Sunway photo mounts. Even though they're high mounts, they're a little low. You can see there's not much distance there, whereas on my other gun there is, and that's because this bottle sticks up further than the cheek weld on the 600. So I'll probably want to raise that up a little bit. I've got the SecMet gauge on here, super nice, and the length of pull on that bottle is just a little shorter than my other Panthera, but we can undo these screws and this actually comes out, so you can adjust the length of pull on it. But I've got the same grip, and I dare say that is a pretty nice looking gun. Of course I'd say that. It looks exactly almost like my other gun. Tim, bring your gun up.
Yeah.
So Tim's got a Panthera. See if you could get that even with ours and we'll take a look. So that's a 700 millimeter Panthera. Tim's a rimfire shooter, but he started seeing these at the matches, so take a look at that. So just in comparison, but he's also got the Orc Air scope on there that I just put on there. What do you think of that thing, man?
It's been great. I mean, I have a $1,500 primary arm scope that I have on one of my centerfire rifles, and it's almost right up there with it. It tracks well. The glass is amazing. 350 scope. It's awesome.
Yeah, you're not really going to get a better deal for the money than that. So that's what the gun looks like set up. I'm going to go ahead and get it zeroed in, and then we'll take a couple shots, because I know you guys always like to see guns being shot, but I think this is going to be definitely what I compete with. I'll probably put the 420cc bottle on just to give it a little bit more length of pull, and then a little bit higher scope mounts, and I think that thing is going to be fine. All right, I just shot the gun a little bit, and we're going to make some changes as we go, which is the nature of any precision rifle. You're going to have to adapt it just to your unique self. But I did add one baffle back on here. So before I just had one, so now there's two, and it's really not much difference, a couple inches more than my 600 with the suppressor, and it's much quieter. It was just a little uncomfortably loud with only one, so I put two on. And I will be getting some higher mounts for that thing, and I did order the 420cc bottle to get just a little bit more length of pull and some more shots out of it. So I'm actually gonna wait until I get those parts, and then we'll finish this video.
1 week later.
All right, so it is a couple weeks later. Thanks for sticking with me in this video. I know it's getting a little long, but I've got the parts that I ordered on the rifle now. So number one is the 420cc tank. Okay, and then I have the Discovery Optics high mounts, which are going to give me a little bit higher than those Sunway photo mounts, so it makes for a better cheek weld to eye level ratio there, which is good. And the only other thing I did to it was I was having a little trouble past 150 bar with the 6mm hammer, really hammering that to get higher velocities. So I actually put a 8mm Huma hammer in, which is the 14.5 gram one. So we're gonna test that one out. But before we do, let's go ahead and give you a little close-up of this gun, and I'll just go through all the parts real quick for you. There she is in all her glory. Let's do this. We'll go through it reverse Garand thumb style, so we'll actually go butt to tip. So first, let's start with the tank. So this is the 420cc tank. Keep in mind, on the Dynamic VP, when you order it, you will get a 400cc 230 bar tank. This is a 420cc 300 bar tank. So we're gaining 20 cc's in volume, and we're also gaining 70 bar in fillable pressure, which is awesome. So this thing is a little bit skinnier than the 360cc tank that I had on it before. So I had to throw a couple of lines of duct tape on here just to make the stock fit better, and then just tightened it down through the 4 screws. And I did compare it to my other Panthera, which has the standard stock on it, and it's right about the same length of pull, maybe like a 1/4 inch longer. But it shoulders pretty nice, and I think I like it better than the 360cc tank length of pull. But if you're a shorter guy or you just don't like such a long length of pull, the 360cc tank might be perfect for you. So I'll go ahead and leave links for both of those in the description and comments. Those help the channel, so thanks in advance. And let's keep moving forward here. So I do have the tack grip. This came on the older Pantheras. Dan Carpenter had sent me that. Thanks, buddy. And I like those ones. It's a little bit thinner than some of the other vertical grips, so I use that. But the FX brand vertical grip is nice too. On a dynamic VP, it will come with a slanted grip though. So there's quite a few different options out there. MDT, I know B5 Systems has a nice, somewhat vertical grip that I've used on some of my other Pantheras, but for this one, we're gonna go with that. Now here is something really special. The Sekhmet gauge is awesome, okay? So this has been cooking in the car for a while. So I had it set at about 165 bar, but if you see the other 00 up there, that's a shot counter. It'll count your shots, and you can simply press those 2 buttons to remove your or clear your shots. And that's a good way to keep track of like how many shots you get before you go off the reg and stuff like that. I do have this thing set in regulator mode, but I haven't really gone through all the settings and stuff yet, so I'm not really an expert on using that. But man, it sure is nice, especially with the internal battery and then just a little magnet charger that goes on there and charges through a USB, and it just looks really slick on there too. So very race car like. I dig that. Before we get too forward on the rifle, I did mention inside here I threw a 14.5 gram 8mm head Huma hammer in there. I don't know what I was thinking before, trying to chuck heavy slugs but not using a heavy hammer, so I corrected that. We're going to test it here. It's getting a little dark, but I think there's still going to be time to do some shooting and calibrating, so we'll do that. The scope is an Orc Air Black Label. That is probably the best value scope you're going to get for $350 on Earth. I will drop a link in the description and comments for that. That's an MRAD, and it just has really nice glass. I'll see if I can fit a scope cam on there when we do a little bit of shooting, and you'll get to see that. But really nice scope. It has the turrets that come up to adjust, and it's got illumination on there, which works really nicely, and side parallax wheel, and it is a 25 power scope. I've also got the Monstrum level sitting on there, which is definitely something that you are going to use for every shot you take at an NRL22 or any type of precision competition. You're going to use that level every time. Holding the scope are the Discovery Optics mounts. Those are super nice, okay? And I don't know how, but when I bought those the other day, they were like 25 bucks or 24 bucks or something on Amazon. And I took a little video. I'll see if I can throw that in here if it makes sense. But the inside of these is polished, and they actually are serial numbered. I don't know if you can see right there. They're serial numbered to each other because they're precision ground, which is pretty cool. Of course, I'm in my kitchen building guns, which is where I normally level scopes and stuff. But you could see how much taller the 1.45 inch height of the Discovery mounts is compared to the Sunway Photo mount. And if I put this right on top and even it up, we can see that's going to raise up the scope quite a bit. And while these Sunway Photo mounts are nice, they even have the locating pegs on the rings. In fact, so do the Discovery. But these are precision ground and will raise it up a little bit more, so I think it'll give me a better position for my eye down the scope. Those were able to give me just a little bit higher than the Sunway Photo mounts that I initially started with, and that's going to allow me to just peek down my scope without cramming my face down onto the buttstock here. So that worked really nicely for me, feels pretty natural. All right, so then moving forward, we've got, actually, you know what? Let's go over here. We do have, can't forget, the Robert Moore charging handle. Thanks, buddy, for turning that in your garage and sending that over to me. He's given me quite a few of these. I have them on most of my FX guns. I don't think he's selling them, but if you know the guy and you're buddies with him, maybe you can say pretty please and maybe he'll give you one. I don't know. But all right, so back to this side. We're moving up. I've got the Crawford and Lip PR5 rail. I think this is probably one of the most solid rails that you could ever put on this gun. When you impact this down onto barriers, it's not going to flex and hit your barrel and possibly screw up your POI. So I like that. My buddy Tim printed me some little M-Lock Air Shootist placards there, so thanks for doing that, Tim. And Juan Pablo, as he's known on Facebook, provided the STL file for that, so thanks, buddy. And then moving up, we've got, of course, an Accutac bipod. These things are the best of the best. It's adjustable for cant, so I can do one of those numbers, and this is the Arca QD version, so it just has a quick disconnect. If I pull that off, I can, or even just loosen it, I can move it up and down my Arca rail. And in this competition style, Arca is definitely superior to Picatinny, just for the fact that you can slide it up and back, which is what you want, because you might need to reposition that bipod depending on what barricade you're shooting off of and things like that. So Arca QD Accutac FD4, that is the bipod. I've got the Crawford and Lip Fat Bastard weights that I took off my other Panthera. Slap those on up here. Those are really nice. They weigh 24 ounces, so they're super heavyweights. And then up here, I found these on Amazon for 60 bucks. These are the S2 Delta weights, and those combined weight is I think 12 ounces. So half the weight of these, but they bolt directly to the threaded holes there in the Crawford and Lip PR5 bridge. So that's perfect. Eventually, I might add another little weight bolted down here in front of my bipod. But that's what I have so far. And then, of course, I've got the Impulse Air IA 1350 moderator with 2 baffles on it. I wanted to try to keep it short. And that cuts down the sound on it and keeps it manageably short. So that's the build. I'm going to go ahead and, in the dwindling light here, I'll get out there and shoot a couple shots at the 150-yard target for you guys, and we'll make sure that this gun is good. So the gun still needs some break-in and whatnot, and since I put that hammer in it, I'll have to tune it a bit, but see if I can get some shots out there for you guys. All right, so now the point of the video that you've probably been waiting for is shooting the gun. Now I've got these shooting the H&N 34 grainers, okay, in 218, right at about 1025 FPS. And that's about 80 foot-pounds. I don't know if you can see my chronograph, but that's a lot of power. And I did take a couple of zeroing groups here, and I'm going to go ahead and start this camera, and we'll show you those. So that one right there was rough zeroing, and then that one right there was probably 8 shots or so, and we can see those are pretty accurate. Now it is a little harder to be accurate with the scope cam on here, but I'll go ahead and take a couple more shots here, and we'll show you just exactly what I'm talking about. So I'll load, like, I don't know, like 10 shots in here, and what we'll do is we'll shoot 5 to confirm my 50-yard zero. And keep in mind, this gun is still being broken in. Like, I probably haven't even shot, you know, 50 or 100 rounds out of it yet, so it is a brand new gun. But what we'll do is we'll go ahead and shoot a 5-round group at the target there, just to make sure we're good, even still with the scope cam on. And oops, so I've got a full magazine there, so that's 12 rounds. So how about this? We'll shoot a 5-round group, and then we'll see if I can hit that 4-inch plate at 150 yards with the remaining 7 shots in a row. All right, so first, let's go ahead and take a couple shots down there at 50. Just make sure we're good to go. Whoa. That was probably me on my rickety bench. 2 more. And it is a bit difficult with the scope cam. All right, so we're all right there except for me pulling that one off.
A few moments later.
All right, now that we've got more or less a zero at 50 yards, let's try to smack that 150-yard target out there. And my stray lock, I just updated the data in it, and it's telling me 4.9 mil. So with this scope, which has really nice clicks, we're just going to dial up to, or sorry, it said 4.7. So we're going to dial 4.7, and that's with a BC of 0.125 on these slugs, which seems pretty accurate. But I guess we'll find out. I have not done any dope truing, but let's see. I've got these 7 shots left in this magazine. I just filled up a little bit of air. This thing, by the way, from almost a 300 bar fill, is getting about 32 shots before it goes under the reg. So let's see if I could go ahead and start smashing that 150 yard plate out there. There it is. We see a little bit of wind. Probably would help if I started the scope cam. All right, so we see a little bit of wind, and oddly, usually it's left to right, but I think in this case, it's right to left. So in any case, let's hold dead on, and that thing is crooked a little bit, meaning it might not be 4 inches all the way across, but let's send it. Smack. All right, let's send it again. Smack. 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 And I'm about to blow that thing off. Smack. And that was it. That was 7 shots in a row. My velocity seemed to have gone down a little bit, probably because of springs and regulators setting and things like that. So I'll adjust that up with my quick tune. And I think that's one of the things that makes the Panthera the premier precision gun, is that quick tune on the side. Having that, I can't tell you how many times at matches I've needed that with weather changes or it's sitting in the sun or whatever. That is awesome. So there you have it. Nice little tight 50 yard group and 7 shots in a row on a 4-inch target at 150 yards. All right, so I think this is a premier build and worthy of the name of this video, the legendary Panthera / dynamic build. So this is exactly what I want for competition. It's balanced, it's super powerful, it's got a lot of shots due to the 300 bar tank. And for me, I think this is going to help give me the edge. You guys know I've been shooting a 600 millimeter Panthera. This is the 700. So I've been stuck with like 30 grain ammo, shot really well in it. But I was really pushing the rifle hard to shoot 34 grain, and I straight up couldn't shoot 40. But this gun definitely can. And you guys saw the accuracy out there. 7 out of 7 shots on the 4-inch plate at 150 yards. So I'll be using this at the NRL22 competition next week. I missed the one at my local club this week because I was at Pyramid Air Cup, which, by the way, is super fun. And if you want to compete, you should go to that next year. But really big thanks for, number one, you guys for sticking around to the end of the video, but also all the vendors who helped by sending stuff out for this rifle. So really appreciate that. And you can get this rifle over at High Pressure Pneumatics, www.myhighpressureair.com. And I will drop links for all of the other stuff I used in the comments. So I hope that's really helpful to you guys who are out there looking to build a gun for competition and maybe need a little bit of guidance. So thanks for sticking with me, and we'll catch you on the next one. Peace.